You're listening to the P&W Sports Report. I'm Alec Pecado with Brad Walker. Bold takes, hot real debates, no filters, new every week. Hit subscribe. Let's roll. Tonight's show is a stacked one. We're going over our preview of the Sun Belt and the AAC. Let's jump right in. And let me pull up the standings. And we're going to start with the AAC. And as you see on the screen, the way this works is we have the way we think the standings are going to be, and we also have the record. So, in last place, in 14th, I have UAB going 2-10, and I think Brad will agree with me on this.
Yeah.
UAB. Trent Dilfer is not a college football head coach.
I can relate to that when they played USF in Tampa last year. You could literally hear him yelling at his kids from the sideline, and I mean yelling. And I mean, I know a lot of people, give John Gruden and Nick Saban a hard time, but I've never seen somebody yell that loud at a kid. So yes, he is not a college coach at all. I definitely agree. They may go 1-11.
I am just I don't know how surprised you are that I'm just shocked that he still has a job somehow.
I think, Bud, if they have a bad year, which we predicted they're going to, he's gone. He's gone. I think they get a new head coach next year, and he may go off to be an assistant somewhere else, but he's not a head coach by any means.
No. Number 13, I've got Tulsa. I think they're going to go 3-9 this year. And Tulsa fans, don't be upset by the 3-9 record. The only reason I think you're going to go 3-9 this year is because you have a new head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the kids on the roster are from the last coaching staff. Give the new coach a couple of years to get his guys in the building, his recruits. Who do you have at number 13?
I also, Bud, have Tulsa as well. I think, and I like their, the Golden Hurricanes. I've never known what a Golden Hurricane is, but that's who they are in Tulsa. And if you ever got a chance to watch their games on TV, they look like they play in a high school stadium. That's how small it is. No, I agree. There, when you like Alec mentioned, when you have a new head coach, the old regime players are left over. He'll try to make do with what he has, but it'll be tough. And I think they're a team that could be on the rise in the next few seasons. They could be a team that could be up the ladder in the area.
Absolutely. At number 12, I've got Rice. I think they're going to go 4-8. And I believe they also have a new head coach. So Rice fans, there is nothing to be ashamed of going 4-8 in your new coach's first year. At all. Just like we said about Tulsa. And the same thing applies to Rice. A lot of the kids on the roster for Rice were from Mike Blumgren's team last year. And I don't think he got a coaching job somewhere, so those kids decided, we're not going to try to go power forward. We're going to stay. But if it doesn't work out, they might transfer somewhere else after this year. Who do you have at number 12?
I also have Rice as well. Rice is a young team, and they can be a thorn in the side. They're a team that I think a lot of people overlook in the American, but they'll have this year. Trust me, if one of those 4 wins, they'll beat a team that they're not supposed to beat, and that it'll just be that way. They always have a win in there that they're not supposed to win that game, and they overcome it. So yeah, they're in the same boat as Tulsa is. Get a coach in there, let him get his players in and his system in, and Rice will be right back, in the thick of it in a couple years.
At number 11, I have Temple, and I have them going 6-6. I don't use this word a lot. I absolutely love the hire of Casey Keeler to Temple. Gets a new Stan Drayton's out of there. It gets a new face in there. And I don't think it's crazy to see Temple go 6-6 this year.
I would agree with that.
Do you have them at 11 as well?
Yeah, but the only differences I have are near the top 3. Everything else is the same. But yeah, Temple, I could see Temple going 6-6 and making a bowl game.
I'm going to say this. I think their ceiling is, people want to say 8 wins.
7.
7's their ceiling, and their
they,
floor is 5.
They are, they're at one time, it may have been this past year or in 2023, they used to be the doormat. Oh, it's an instant win when you play against them. It's not that way anymore in Temple. And again, just like with Rice and Tulsa, they're going to be on the rise too in the conference over the next couple of years.
Number 10 is Charlotte, and I have them going 6-6. And I like their new head coach. I think it was a good hire. But again, most of the kids that were there last year because of Biff Poggi probably are still there unless they have decided to transfer. And Charlotte's another team I could see going 7-5. I just don't. The roster doesn't entice me right now to the point where I could have them having the same record as the 2 teams in front of them.
I agree, but I think a new voice in that locker room will definitely change things for the 49ers. Yeah, I could see them also going, like, I agree with you, but I think 6-6 or their ceiling is 7-5. And then of course the 4 would be 5-7. So yeah.
At number 9, I've got North Texas going 7-5. And North Texas fans, you can either agree with me on this or disagree. I like your roster. It's just, I don't know if I trust any of your quarterbacks that much to give you more than 7 wins. And I'm pretty sure you play USF this year, which we will get to in a little bit because they're higher up in the rankings. But what is your stance on North Texas?
I agree with you, but on that one, the only thing is I may lean more towards 6-6 than 7-5. Like you just mentioned, their quarterback situation, but then again, they could pull out a win like a Rice that they're not supposed to win, a conference game they're not supposed to win. So
or an out of conference game,
or you're correct, or out of conference game as well. Yep, they get overlooked. Yep.
At number 8, I've got FAU. Another really good hire, Zach Kitley. I absolutely can see FAU going 7-5 in his first year. He's an offensive-minded head coach, and we talked about it on our show last year how we thought if FAU got a good head coach that they could be ceiling could be 7 wins, floor could be 5. Do you think this is the right place to have FAU?
Yeah, I do, bud. They shredded, got rid of their past coach, which, if you don't know, he had a little bit of a fight with USF from the previous 2 years and stuff like that. And Coach Golish didn't shake his hand or short the handshake or whatever. So yeah, it was time for him to go. And yeah, they'll be 7-5 this year too. That they're a good enough football team and they have a nice stadium in Boca. So never get a chance to go down there. They have a nice stadium in Boca Raton. So
At number 7, I've got UTSA, and I think they're going to go. This is one of the ones I'm confident. I am pretty sure they're going to go 8-4 this year. Jeff Traylor has had so many chances to leave UTSA and go somewhere else, and he hasn't. And I think there's a good reason he hasn't. I think he knows that he can consistently win at UTSA, and if he goes somewhere else, that's not going to be the case. And he knows how to recruit the state of Texas. What do you think? Do you think I put their win total too high, 8-4?
No, but they're a good enough team, and actually, they're one of my sleeper teams in the conference this year too. USF plays them, and I got to see them a couple years ago in the Cure Bowl, and I got to say they have one of the coolest bands in the country. But no, on the field too, they're a good enough football team. I would say 8-4 probably would be the ceiling for me. I can't put them at 9-3 quite yet, but they, like you said, their head coach knows. He knows how to recruit Texas, and if he stays there, instead of going to better jobs, he likes where he's at, and he's trying to build the program in San Antonio. So, yeah.
Well, and before we move on to number 6, the other thing I'm going to say is Jeff Traylor probably got some really enticing offers from bigger schools that were looking for new head coaches. Example, Purdue, North Carolina, maybe some SEC schools. Maybe Oklahoma if they were going to get rid of Venables.
That might be after this year.
Mm-hmm. Number 6 is Memphis. I have them going 8-4. And yes, I know they're replacing Seth Hennigan, but I think this guy has saved his job for at least another year, and it is Ryan Silverfield. We both had talked about at the beginning of last year that Ryan Silverfield was on the hot seat. And I can say for right now, he is firmly entrenched off the hot seat. He is not on the hot seat anymore.
No, I agree, bud. To me, Memphis has always been, I think, like the class of the conference. They're a team that, a couple years ago were almost unbeatable, and I don't think much has changed. I know they haven't been in the conference championship game the last few years, but they're still a force to be reckoned with. I could see them being 8-4, or I could even see them being 9-3 by the end of the season.
Number 5, and this might be a surprise to some people. It is a team that finished strong last year, and that is East Carolina. I have them going 8-4. I really like the interim head coach they had that they promoted to, I believe they promoted him to the head coach. And I don't think 8 wins is that crazy to think that East Carolina can absolutely get to 8 wins.
I agree. Actually, one of the kids that played for Pinellas Park High School, our defensive guys, is actually playing for East Carolina now. He got got a scholarship to go play for the Pirates. Yeah, I could see them going 8-4. They've had a couple down years, but I think now, just like with Tulsa and Rice, they're on the rise now. They've been down for so long, and now they've got the right head coach. He's getting his guys in there. Yes, I could definitely see them going 8-4 this season.
Number 4 in the conference is Tulane. I have them going 9-3. Jeff Summerall had a really good year 1. I think it's going to be an even better year number 2 for Jeff Summerall in New Orleans, Louisiana. And the only reason I don't have Tulsa at 10 wins is they bring in a new quarterback. Michael Pratt's gone. And they lost the kid that was supposed to be their quarterback, Darian Mensah, who decided to go to Duke in the transfer portal. So I'm a little skeptical on who the quarterback's going to be, but I still think they could get at least 9 wins.
Yeah, I agree with that. They won the conference a year ago, and I can't see them not being in the thick of it again this season.
At number 3, I've got the Navy midshipmen going 10-2. They bring back a lot of guys from the team last year, and I don't see why they can't have another successful year and at least have another 10-win season and maybe an outside chance of getting into the playoff.
No, I would agree with that, but they showed last year that they're the real deal. They made a coaching change, and since they've made that change, they've been better. Obviously, one of the games you always look forward to at the college football season is Army-Navy, which is in the first Saturday in December. But yeah, it's I could see the midshipmen being right there. Actually, I have them in the conference championship. So yeah.
Number 2 is South Florida, and I am hell bent on putting them at 11-2, with their only 2 losses being to Miami and the Gators.
Okay.
I don't think they lose to Boise State. I think they beat Boise State. And then, of course, they returned Byron Brown. Alex Golish is back for another year. And Golish brought in another good recruiting class.
I think that, yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this year goes. Obviously, the fans want more than 6 wins. So anything over 6 will be.
Us as podcasters want more than 6 wins for USF too.
So, yeah, I can see that. They don't have a very difficult, conference schedule. I think Navy's on there. I know they play UTSA. I think they get Memphis on the road, but they have UAB. They have the teams FAU and stuff like that are winnable games. I think they can beat Memphis. I think honestly, yeah. I mean, the Boise State game I think is the only game that I'm kind of on the fence of. I don't think they have enough to go to Gainesville and beat the Gators this year. Not with the firepower the Gators have. And Miami will be an interesting game too. They're both on the road. If USF was playing them at home, different story, but they're both, on the road. So yeah, I could see them. I would say 11-2. I would say the 4 for them is 9-3. Or yeah, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see how they would be anywhere below. It would be awesome if they win 9-10 games this year. As a writer, it would be great to write about this year.
And at number 1, finishing first place in the American at 12-1 is Army, with that only loss being to Navy. And I think we could both agree Army surprised last year. Mm-hmm. Nobody expected Army to do as good as they did their first year in the American.
No, I wrote an article about them coming into the conference. I didn't think that they were going to be, they were undefeated up to a long time. And again, that triple option offense is just hard to stop. It's just hard to stop. And the only team that was able to do it was the midshipmen. So who also runs that style of offense. So yeah, it's interesting to see. But yeah, I have Army. Yeah, you got to put Army near the top of the conference again this year.
Yeah. And now we get to our conference championship games for the American. And we start with, for me, my first one's Army and South Florida. And I think we both know. And we will get to the comments after this, after we're done with the AAC. Because there's 2 comments.
Okay.
And I think if South Florida's in the conference championship game against Army, I'm sorry, Army fans, but I think South Florida wins the conference. And then number 2 is Navy, because I know they played the first week of December, so I don't know how this would work. Navy versus Army in the conference championship game. That would be the conference championship game for the ages. Because then they turn around and they play 2 weeks later.
Yep.
And the result, I think Army wins. And then my dark horse for the conference championship game is Tulane and East Carolina. And if that happens, East Carolina, I think, wins the AAC.
I like those, bud. I like those a lot. I like those picks.
Who were yours?
The first one I have would be Tulane and Navy. I think that was the same as it was a year ago. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think.
No, you're spot on.
Okay. But this time around, it won't be Tulane. It will be the midshipmen. But I would put USF and Army in that equation as well. You have them at the top. And come on, I'm a homer. I got to take the Bulls in that equation. And the dark horse, you know what? I'm going to go. This might go way off the radar. I'm going to take my dark horse would be UTSA and East Carolina, and UTSA wins that ball game. That's a long shot for a lot of people, but that would be my dark horse AAC championship game.
So Sean Humphrey left a question in the chat for us. He says, trying to find my next college football dynasty. For college football 26, I would assume.
College football dynasty. For
CFB 26.
Ooh. Is it?
I would say maybe USF.
Possibly. Now is he's referring to a video game, right? Or is he referring to
no video game? I would only assume.
I hate to say this, but Alabama. But then again, he's looking for the next dynasty, so this dynasty's already gone by.
I would say USF. If you want to go Power 4, try to do a dynasty with Purdue.
How about Indiana?
Yeah, Signetti, because there is real coaches in the game this year.
I would go with Indiana, just for a wild long shot.
I'd go Indiana, Purdue, and USF.
Yeah,
and then if you want to create your own team, go ahead.
Exactly.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go over to the Sun Belt, or as it's referred to by many, the Fun Belt. And we're going to start in the East Division of the Sun Belt. In last place in the East Division of the Sun Belt, I have the team that is the reigning conference champions and the Marshall Thundering Herd. I have them going 3-9. And do we really need to explain why?
No. You have them in the same spot, bud. So, yeah, no.
If you don't know, I'll briefly say they lost their head coach to a team that we will talk about in the West Division in a little bit. At number 6, I have App State, and they lost Joey Aguilar, and I have them going 5-7, and I don't think that's a stretch at all. And then again, ladies and gentlemen, these are just our predictions. We could totally be, and this is our conference preview for both the AAC and the Sun Belt, as I will be doing conference previews on this show and my other podcast for college football that I run by myself. But back to App State. Where do you have them in the same spot?
I do, bud. I do. Same record too.
Explain why you have them at number 6. Is it kind of the same reason I said?
Yeah, and they're just like we were talking earlier about Rice and Temple. They always win a game, an out of conference game, Michigan, and they always have one or two wins every year that they're not supposed to win those games. So yeah, I mean, would you say, Bud, that maybe the ceiling for them is 6-6, and the floor like a 4-8 type of situation?
Yeah.
Are you hard at 5-7? You think
I could give or take 6-6 being their ceiling, 4-8 being the floor.
Okay.
At 5, I've got Georgia Southern going 6-6. They don't really move the needle that much for me, and I'm worried about their quarterback position. They have a lot of underclassmen, and I feel like their coach might all of a sudden be on the hot seat.
Yeah, they that's where I had them too. I think there was they very, very few percentage of them winning more than 6 games this season. So yeah, and again, if they do not make a bowl game, which if they finish 6-6, they will be bowl eligible. But if they don't, I think their head coach could be getting his pink slip.
Yeah. At number 4, I've got Coastal Carolina, and before they're going 7, and I'm gonna say they go 7-5. But before we discuss why their field is top notch, the teal field.
I agree, and I feel bad for them because their baseball team made it to the College World Series and lost to LSU in 2 games. But anyway, I agree with that. I think they've been pretty strong the last few seasons. They're not a team that you can take lightly anymore. I have them also at 7-5 this year too. So yeah, I like that.
I feel their ceiling to me is not 8 wins.
Yeah.
8-4.
I agree.
Then 6-6 is their floor.
Okay.
Number 3, Georgia State. And with Georgia State, they did have a good offseason, but this is where, for me, I had a tough time putting the top 3 as you see it in order. I went from could James Madison be 3rd to could James Madison win the East Division of the Sun Belt. So I ended up putting Georgia State here. There's a lot to like about them. Looking at their roster, they have a lot of potential. They have a lot of guys coming back from the team last year. But they're just not in the same category as the 2 teams we will get to here in a second. What is your stance on Georgia State?
I agree with you, Bud, on that. 8-4, that's definite. I have a hard time putting them in the conference championship talk. I just don't see them. They're young. So yeah, I do see 8-4. Their floor being 7-5, maybe possibly getting a 9th win might be possible, but yeah, they're kind of in the middle. You know what I mean? Of they could go 7-5, they could go 9-3. So yeah.
Would you say they're in the Sun Belt purgatory?
You could say that, Bud. You could say that they're kind of in that. You could kind of put them in that purgatory. That's a good point.
Number 2 is Old Dominion, and I have them going 9-3. They had some good wins last year, and I think they can build off the season they had last year. and be one of those teams that just sticks around in the Sun Belt East Division. And maybe if you look up at the end of the season, maybe they're the team that wins the Sun Belt East Division. You never know. Nobody had Marshall winning the East Division of the Sun Belt last year.
Right. They're the dark horse, I think, of the division. I could see them based off of what they did a year ago. They could build off of that and be, in the thick of it when it comes to the conference championship.
Yeah. And winning the Sun Belt East Division at 10-2, I have the James Madison Dukes and Coach Bob Chesney. They were one game away from being the East Division champs last year. If they did not lose to Marshall, they would have been the representative from the East Division in the conference championship the last 2 years. But of course, we remember the first year they moved up, they weren't eligible because of the stupid rules they have for teams that move from FCS to FBS, where they have to sit out 2 years in order to be eligible for a bowl game. And what is your stance on James Madison?
I agree, Bo, with everything. They're in my conference championship game, so yeah, I've got them. I've got them in there. I could even see them, Bud, going 11-1, only losing one game, and that one game could be to the team on the right in the West Division. So yeah.
Now we get over to the West Division, and finishing in last place at 4-8 is Troy. We love the transfer portal for some teams. Some teams wish there was no transfer portal. And that, for prime example, is Troy. They got ravaged, just like Marshall did, by the transfer portal. And it was not because Troy's coach decided to take a new job. It was because a lot of their kids wanted to go somewhere else. And Troy fans, I'm sorry. Your ceiling is 5-7. Your floor is an ugly 3-9.
I agree. The team that I mentioned, UTSA, a little while ago, the team that they were playing against in the Cure Bowl was Troy. Troy won. That was a chippy game. A lot of unnecessary roughness penalties. Both teams committed them. But yeah, I agree with Alec. I think when it comes down to it, when you get hit that hard by the portal, it's kind of hard to build a team back up. And I would agree with that. I think the floor 3-9, maybe 5-7. You might sneak out one, but I'm pretty strong on the 4-8 record for Troy.
Number 6 in the East Division, in the West Division of the Sun Belt, I have Arkansas State going 6-6. And I believe if this is their record at the end of the season, they will be in a bowl game, but I feel like their coach, his hot seat might be extremely hot. And that's not something you want, especially from a program like Arkansas State that has to compete in the same state as the University of Arkansas. What do you have to say about Arkansas State?
Yeah, I agree with you, but they do go 6-6. I think the ceiling for them is 7-5. But yeah, it's hard if they go 6-6. If they win their bowl game, that seed will be a little cool. If they lose the bowl game, yeah, then it's extremely hot. And it's interesting because it seems like at the end of the day that maybe both coaches in the state of Arkansas could be on the hot seat. But we'll see. But yeah, it's tough when you have your in-state team that is pretty good. The Razorbacks are not bad. So.
Number 5 in the Sun Belt West Division, I have Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, and I have them going 7-5. and they're replacing. I believe they're replacing the quarterback, and they have some new coordinators, and they're in the same boat as Ohio State in terms of replacing your offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator because they left for better jobs. So where do you have Louisiana University?
I have them, but also I have them at 7-5, 8-4. Billy Napier left the program in pretty good shape when he left to go to Florida. But yeah, Louisiana is actually
AKA also known as Sunbelt Billy.
Louisiana and Coastal Carolina are my two dark horses in the conference this year. But yeah, and we have them at the same record, so that makes sense. But yeah, they again it's hard when you replace your coordinators. Same thing in the NFL with the Lions. You lose both of them to be head coaches. We'll see how they adjust. But if your head coach is good, they shouldn't have an issue with winning 7 games this year.
No, they shouldn't. Number 5 is the other team in Louisiana in this conference, Louisiana Monroe, the Warhawks. I have them going 8-4. I like the portal moves they've made. And I don't know if they still have General Booty, which is my personally, and I know there's going to be people that disagree, but that is one of my favorite names in college football. But yeah, I have them going 8-4.
I agree, bud. I think that they could potentially be the West representative if they can beat the 3 teams in front of them. You know, they might have a shot, but yeah, I can't see them winning any less than 7 this year. So yeah, I've got them right where you have them too.
Number 3 is a team that this is their last year in the Sun Belt because they are going to the new Pac-12 next year, Texas State. It was just made official yesterday. I have Texas State going 9-3 in their final year in the Sun Belt. They're another team. Their coach could have taken a better job, but he has stayed at Texas State and done a really good job there.
No, I agree. You know, I know, you know, it seems in college football that if you have a winning program, you're supposed to go bigger, but some coaches in this case too, and guess what? They're moving out of the Sun Belt to a Power 5 conference, or what used to be a Power 5 conference in the Pac-12. So yeah, good luck.
I think it's getting its status back as a Power 5 conference.
So they're getting in there when it's starting back up, and obviously they're going to go through some, you know, in the beginning it's going to be tough, but if they adjust, well, they'll be right there. I know, where were they supposed to go prior to the Pac-12? They had
Mountain West.
West. I saw the article that they had put their application in to go there, and they were turned down. So now they got the Pac-12. So yeah.
Yep. Number 2 is South Alabama, and I have them going 10-2. And they did lose Gio Lopez, who transferred, but I do like their options they have at quarterback. Their coach is good. They're in a hotbed for recruiting in the state of Alabama. Their only issue is, can they out recruit a team like Alabama or Auburn?
That's easier said than done. No, I agree. I have South Alabama in my conference championship game, but no, yeah, they're a team that could be the all-out favorite to win the West. Obviously, we still have one that we haven't talked about yet, but yeah, I have them right there, 10-2, 11-1 for South Alabama.
And the team that will represent the West Division of the Sun Belt and the Sun Belt Championship game at 11-1 is Southern Miss with new head coach Charles Huff. And I hope he brings his famous saying that he had at Marshall. If any big players from big schools want to transfer to Southern Miss, we'll give you some free Tudor's biscuits.
Yeah.
He did bring a lot of as we like to say in college football, he brought a lot of his Louis luggage with him to Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Yeah, this is set up to for him to be successful. And would it be to go on a far-fetched, Bud, to see them going undefeated?
No, not in the Sun Belt. I mean, if they can get past James Madison and Old Dominion, they could go undefeated easily. Just depending, I would say the only thing that would hurt them is whoever they play out of conference.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now, did I not put? There we go. Now we get to our Sun Belt Conference Championship game prediction. For me, my first one is Southern Mississippi and James Madison, and I believe Southern Miss will win. The result is Southern Miss wins. Number 2 is James Madison versus Old Dominion, and I think in that case, Old Dominion wins. And my dark horse is Coastal Carolina and the team that's leaving after this year, Texas State. And my result in that case would be Texas State winning.
Buddy, have the dark horse. I have the same matchup. I like that.
So we were thinking along the same.
Right. My first one would be James Madison versus South Alabama. That's who I have in my first one, with Madison winning. And the second one, I'm going to go far-fetched. I'm going to say Old Dominion and Louisiana. And I'll take Old Dominion in that.
Okay.
Result. Yep.
Now we get to our sleeper teams in the AAC and the Sun Belt. My first sleeper team in the AAC, and we talked about them and where we had them ranked in the AAC, it is East Carolina. I like what they have building over there with their new head coach, who was the interim at the end of last year. My number one Sun Belt team that's the sleeper is Louisiana Monroe Warhawks. Again, they're another team that I think has potential to just wreck everybody's plans and lose a lot of people money if they decide to bet on somebody winning the conference, the Sun Belt. My second AAC team that I think is a sleeper, and I've heard a lot of people sleeping on him, is Temple with KC Keeler. I could absolutely see a world where they do win. And it is far-fetched right now to say it, but I can see an avenue where they do win 8 games and they sneak in. They, as people like to say, they backdoor their way into the AAC championship game and wreck everybody's plans. Number 2 Sun Belt team, that's a sleeper for me, is Old Dominion Monarchs. I really don't have, to be quite frank, I don't have a set it and forget it reason why. I just feel like some deep down is telling me that Old Dominion is on a path this year to wreck everybody's plans. And my last 2 sleepers, because I did 3, are both schools from Texas. In the AAC, UTSA, the meet.
Roadrunners.
Yes, the Roadrunners. Like I said about Jeff Traylor. wins consistently at UTSA. And I think he can continue to do that. And then number 3 in the Sun Belt for sleeper team, Texas State Bobcats. Who are your 3 sleeper teams for the AAC and the Sun Belt?
Well, I hate to be a homer, but USF. I think a lot of people aren't giving them a chance. So that's my sleeper number 1 in the American. My number 1 in the Sun Belt is Coastal Carolina. The Chanticleers, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I think that's how you
Yes.
But yes, they're my number 1. My number 2 team in the American is the Real Runners. Again, they win games. They're a good team. Their coach stuck around. I think they're building a program there. My number 2 in the Sun Belt is Louisiana. They're a good football team. My sleeper team in the American, number 3, I would have to go with Alex, number 1. ECU, I think, is, and I hate to say that because ECU eliminated USF in the AAC baseball championship. Kind of the wrong way, but yeah, you have to put them there. They're a solid football program, and again, they're on the rise again too. In that, and then my 3rd in the Sun Belt, I have to go with the same one that Alec went with, and it would be great if they won the conference championship as they switch conferences and go to the Pac-12. So, what a great way to end your Sun Belt tenure! By we're gonna be CM Punk. We're gonna win the championship, and then we're gonna go away. We're gonna go away. So, yep.
Now we are going to go over a couple teams' schedules from either the AAC, the Sun Belt, or maybe a couple MAC, and we're going to give their actual record prediction.
Okay.
And share screen. The first one is a team we just got done talking about, and the Sun Belt. It is Old Dominion. And they start the season with a juicy non-conference game. They go up to Bloomington, Indiana, and they take on the Hoosiers.
That'll be a true test right off the bat. I can't see Indiana losing at home.
Let me throw this out there. Indiana's got a new quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, and nobody wants to give Fernando Mendoza any credit. Could you see him coming out his first game at Indiana and struggling?
There's going to be some growing pains, as they say, because in college, but I can't see with Signetti.
Well, no, he's not a freshman.
Okay.
This is his first. He transferred to Indiana from Cal. When I say struggle, I mean throw like 2 or 3 interceptions.
Is Old Dominion that good on defense? Are they a good defensive team?
They're middle of the pack.
I could see them getting 2 off of him, honestly, because again, your first year in a new system, unless you learned it really, really fast, I could see them getting a couple picks off him. But I don't see it hurting them.
I don't see them beating Indiana. So 0-1.
Yeah,
they should beat North Carolina Central.
Yes, I agree.
So 1-1, and then they go to. I believe they lost to Virginia Tech last year. So they're going to be looking for revenge. This is a big year for Brett Pry and Virginia Tech. I don't see a way they beat Virginia Tech. So they're 1-2.
Yep.
Then they got a bye week. Then they get Liberty at home. And
I-
that's not a long drive for Liberty. That's Lynchburg to Norfolk. That's probably 4, 5, maybe 6 hours.
I could see 2-2. I think
I could too, because Caden Salter's not at Liberty anymore. He's now at Colorado. So 2-2. Coastal
2-3.
2-3.
Even though it's a home for Old Dominion.
Yeah, I could see 3-3. Marshall,
yeah,
4-3. James Madison,
4-4. Especially they're on the road.
Well. What is James Madison's record at the point of this game? Do they have 1 or 2 losses?
Ooh, good question. That's a good question.
We'll do their schedule next. And there's a reason I'm saying that.
Okay.
College game day.
Oh, okay.
James Madison and Old Dominion. They've gone to James Madison before when James Madison was in the FCS. So I wouldn't put it past them. But yes, I think they will be 4-4 after that game. Then they get App State at home. On home, it is homecoming game.
I think they go 5-4 in a close game against App State.
5-4. And then they got ULM.
6-4.
6-4. And then they get the old famous bye week. Can't win or lose that.
No, hopefully you can't. Hopefully it's a time to regain if you're
Troy win 7-4. At Georgia Southern
7-5. I don't think they beat the Eagles.
Yeah, loss 7-5. Georgia State win.
Yeah, I was gonna say they'll win that one.
8-5.
8-5.
Does that seem? Is it possible to go 8-5 during regular season in college football?
Is that right? Did we count them all? Is it be 8-4? Maybe we counted one too many. I think it's only 12 games. Maybe we counted too many.
So lost to Indiana, 0-1. Beat North Carolina Central 1-1. Lose to Virginia Tech 1-2.
Beat Liberty
2-2.
Lose to Coastal Carolina 2-3.
2-3.
Beat Marshall 3-3. Lose to James Madison 3-4. Beat App State 4-4. Beat UML 5-4. They beat the Trojans 6-4. Lose to Georgia Southern 6-5. I'm sorry. Yeah, we must have counted an extra game, buddy. I'm sorry.
7-5.
Yeah.
Now we get another Sunbelt team right here. Who did I said James Madison.
Yeah.
JMU.
Let's see where they're.
The Dukes. Okay, so they open the year at home against Weber State.
They're 1-0.
1-0.
Yeah.
Then they play at Louisville.
Ooh.
I'm going to say win.
Win? Okay. So you got the
upset.
Okay.
So 2-0. Then they go to Liberty. Win.
Yep.
3-0. Georgia Southern at home.
I think they win there. If they beat Louisville, they're 4-0 after 4 weeks. Well, 5 weeks if you count the bye week. But yeah.
4-0. So and then Georgia State.
A win.
5-0. Louisiana. loss.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say that might be
5-1.
Yeah,
Then they get to that game in
we just-
Harrisburg,
Yeah.
Virginia. It gets Old Dominion, homecoming. Maybe game day goes there.
It's a possibility. It's a possibility.
We win because we said Old Dominion was going to lose to them.
Yep.
So there's 7-0.
6-1. Yeah, you have 7-0, but I have them 6-1 with the only loss.
I have them 6-1 too because I said lost to Louisiana.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so we got them
So
both.
they get through the bye week. Texas State on the road.
Well, I would say a win, but not a blowout win. They get.
I would say win too. So that's
7-1.
7-1.
They
8-1.
Yeah.
8-1 after beating Marshall. 9-1 after beating
Appalachian State.
And then looky here, November 22nd.
Washington State.
That might be a trap game.
You know what? I hate to say this, but I think they lose. I had them going 2 losses, so I gotta go here. So I'm gonna say they upset Washington and lose to Louisville, and then they beat Charlotte. They beat Coastal Carolina to get to that 10-2 record.
I also think they lose to Washington State, so they're 9-2. And I think they beat Coastal, so 10-2.
10-2. Okay. Yep.
And that is how we. Why don't you tell them before we hop off about your show?
Yeah, guys, we will be going on in about an hour and a half from now at 8 o'clock. We're going to be talking boxing, WNBA. Speaking of college football, I have an article about the top 25 toughest fields to play in. So Alec will be on. One of my good friends, Betty, will be on. She's a WNBA expert. So with the expansion of the league, she'll be coming on to talk to us about that. We'll be talking baseball and all that stuff as well. But come over at 8 o'clock. Alec will be on the show tonight as well. And we will get you updated on all the current sports topics around what's going on around the sports world.
What was I going to say? Our next show, we will not have a show on Thursday. We are both taking Thursday off. Our next show will be next Tuesday at the same time, 5:30. It will be, I think it's going to be maybe another college football. Yeah, we're going to do another college football.
I was going to say, but if you want to do 2 more conferences, we can do the Big Ten or did we already do the Big Ten already? Did we do the Big Ten?
I'm doing that on my other thing.
Okay.
We could do Conference USA and
about the ACC
or the MAC.
Or the MAC. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do the MAC, and yeah, let's do Conference USA and the MAC.
Because I think I'm going to do all the bigger conferences.
Okay.
On my other college football show I do. Cool. So we are doing 2 more group of 5 conferences next week. The MAC in the Conference USA, as well as we might give you, this is a little teaser for next Tuesday. We will be giving you our top 20 players for the 2025 season.
I like that.
From both me and Bradley. But till next Tuesday, the PNW show, we are signing off.
Good night, everybody.